The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
There's a new bar in town. Welcome to the Turnbuckle Arms, where the banter flows like wine and the topics are as fresh as an ice-cold pint. So pull up a chair, grab yourself a glass, and welcome your hosts, the Brew'd!
Hello and welcome to this month's episode of the Turnbuckle Arms podcast. Slightly different this month. We normally will get together and record something and discuss some specific topics and just generally have a chat. This month, because everyone's been incredibly busy, a lot of people doing their own things, their own separate podcasts, so we couldn't all find the time to get together. So we're doing something a little bit different. We're going a little bit of a montage just to give you an introduction to the Brew'd, let you know what we like, give some thoughts on like the pandemic era of wrestling. So here we go. So I'm going to hand you over to the guys.
Welcome to a special Turnbuckle Arms Montage episode. My name is Juanzo from the original Road Break. You can find us on Facebook under Road Break, on Instagram and YouTube, the original Road Break, and also on Twitter you can find us as the OG Road Break, a podcast that focuses on professional wrestling and soccer. First of all, let's meet the Brew'd.
Hi, I'm the Grizz.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexi. I am the only female member of the Brew'd. I am the author and the voice behind Grappuccino Thoughts, which you can find exclusively on the With Johners website. That's wrestlingwithjohners.com.
Yep, I'm John, or Johners. I am the host of the Wrestling with Johners podcast, and I'm the founder of the Johners Podcasting Network. The Wrestling with Johners podcast has been going for about 2.5 years now. The network has really been finding its feet since the beginning of 2021. But all is good in the world of Johners and the Johners Podcasting Network. And looking forward to seeing what the rest of 2021 brings.
And I am 1/3 of the Turning Heel podcast, the Scottishest, most drunkest podcast on the internet, because we are over the airwaves and under the influence every single week. Stemming from sometimes 2.5 hours on a lucky day to 5+ hours on a really unlucky day. And all depending on how much wrestling, because there is so much of it in between. And we try and cover absolutely all of it, because I'm one of those people that can't just stop watching wrestling. Turn the heel.
So I'm Jolly the Bear, and my co-host as ever is
Chucky T.
And we are part of the Johners Podcasting Network. We are called the Bear and Chucky T Wrestling Recap, where we look every month at Impact Wrestling and AEW. We also share interviews on our social media of other fellow podcasters that feature said wrestlers from AEW and Impact Wrestling. So we are quite a growing, sharing podcast, but mainly what we do is we'll talk about what's happened over the last month or so, look at the pay-per-views, look at what's going to happen in the future, what we think, a bit of fantasy booking, just basically looking at what Impact and AEW are doing at the moment, especially with the cross-branding that we're doing, and now that we're getting a bit of New Japan there as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, well said. I was going to say that the perfect time for a podcast to have the two shows kind of crossing over. That was almost the genesis of this idea, I think. But yeah, Johnny's covered it all, so I'll say no more.
Hi, Nick Towers from Work the Left Side, occasional guest on Turnbuckle as well. So, hi.
My podcast is called Pull Up a Seat. It's a wrestling podcast where I invite people on just to talk about wrestling, just have a general chat, talk about what they've been doing. I've done 4 episodes so far. I've had a bit of a break over the last month or so because life takes over. I'll be back soon with some brand new content. keep tuned. Obviously, everything will be shared on www.wrestlingwithjohners.com. So check it out there, as well as all the other amazing podcasts.
Who is your current favorite wrestler? My current favorite wrestler is Kenny Omega with Don Callis. I think that the fact that they've been able to have this alliance with AEW, with Impact, they've been able to create more unity in the wrestling world, to me is really great. I feel that like his work in ring performance is probably like the best right now. Also the matches with Jon Moxley, the Bob Wire death match, it was absolutely outstanding. And I think that like he's been bringing a lot of eyes in the product. He's been also like giving us something different than what the WWE give us normally. So I think that Kenny Omega has like a lot of ceiling even yet to accomplish. He has that match coming up with Rick Swann at Rebellion. So I feel that like he has a great future. And for me, he just carries himself as a really good heel. Sometimes a lot of people don't like him, but I absolutely love his work. And finally, as the cleaner, he's doing an outstanding job.
This is a really difficult one, and we've spoken about it many times. It changes from day to day, and I really thought about it, and I'm going to have to say Rhea Ripley, purely because she's a proper wrestler, if that makes sense. She looks like someone that could do you some damage, but she's also beautiful at the same time. And I don't think I've ever seen a bad match from her. So yeah, I mean, if we've got to talk about overall, it's got to be the man that started it all, the Ultimate Warrior. But then it changes to things like Ric Flair or Chris Jericho because of their ability to change and reinvent and play the heel and play the face really well. And yeah, so it changes, but at the moment it's Rhea Ripley.
Maki Ito. In reality, though, probably it's a toss-up between Edge and Daniel Bryan for kind of when you think about it with these two, it's the same thing. Both of them were at the absolute pinnacle of their career, and then they both had to retire, which broke my wrestling heart. Now that both of them are back and both of them are in like high-profile sort of matches over these next couple of months, it's two of my favorite wrestlers of all time coming back. Like, so I can't pick one of the two, so it needs to just kind of be a combo answer here.
Ooh, crap. Hangman Adam Page or Reigns were my first two that spring to mind.
My favourite wrestler at the moment, if I'm honest, has to be Drew McIntyre. I think he had a brilliant 2020. And it was such a shame that his WrestleMania moment was without fans. But I think they've handled Drew perfectly to the point where now he's going to be main eventing, or certainly in the WWE Championship picture at this year's Mania with fans. He's going to get his crowning moment once again, but with a crowd there, 25, 30,000 people, who knows. But Drew has been, I think he's been kind of like the staple behind WWE for the last year, and he definitely deserves to win the championship for a third time in front of fans at Mania this year.
I think everyone's going to expect me to say Bayley, so I'm going to say Bayley. I think what she's done since she's become a heel in the last year or so has been absolutely fantastic. Obviously she's not been performing that much lately, but she's someone, I think she's fantastic in the ring, great character work. I've followed her since she was in NXT. So she's probably my favourite wrestler.
Well, if we're going on the companies that we're covering, I'm going to split it. So, because obviously we do Impact and AEW. For me, in Impact, it's got to be TJP. Formerly of WWE, he's now on Impact, former X Division champion. He's just every week he's just solid production of work. I could watch his wrestling matches no matter who he's wrestling every day, all day. So yeah, that's my Impact star. For AEW, I'm gonna go with someone that I didn't think was quite good to start with, but I just didn't get her at the time, but it's Britt Baker.
Yeah.
Ever since she came onto the scene and on our fellow podcaster John Scott's podcast, wasn't a big fan of her, but ever since watching her, she's just grown and grown and grown on me, and just the quality of work that she's been doing, and especially with the stuff that she's been doing with Thunder Roster is just incredible. So she's somebody that has turned my opinion on. So yeah, it'll be them two for me.
For me, I'm just going to go with AEW. My man Kenny Omega. He a predictable choice maybe, but he really has been at the focal point of this crossover. The work that him and Don Callis have been doing ever since Winter is Coming has been pretty much the talk of the wrestling industry, I would say, and it's created a real genuine excitement. That combined with the kind of whole forbidden door of New Japan, it's brought excitement to this older fan, who's seen a lot or thought he had seen it all. So Kenny Omega has become the cleaner once again, the heel persona that we all loved back in New Japan, and he is having an absolute blast at the moment, and so that kind of joy that he's experiencing is being reflected on the screen. So it's really good to see him having a good time, and that's coming out in some decent matches, because he's already putting a lot out there. He's pretty much in a match every week at the moment, and his upcoming match with Rich Swann it's going to be incredible. So yeah, very much looking forward to that, and bringing more eyes to the product and bringing eyes to other promotions as well. So Kenny Omega at the moment has got tremendous pressure on his shoulders, and I think he's really handling himself well.
What type of match do you always look forward to? The match that I always look forward to is a Hell in a Cell. I always enjoy that rivalry just because it takes months and months to for the rivalry to keep evolving. It takes a lot of time for both of the wrestlers get to that point that you have to end a rivalry, a match, a feud in this type of structure. I feel that the concept has been really downgraded through the years. I feel that it's not as unique, as relevant as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that only certain people, only certain feuds or rivalries needed that type of match to conclude. So but every time that there is something really similar to that vibe that I had 15 years ago, like I mentioned, I feel that I enjoy that more than anything. I also enjoy the no disqualification matches. I enjoy the Royal Rumble. The Elimination Chamber are my favorite ones, but if I have to pick up my favorite type of match or stipulation, it'll always be Hell in a Cell, just because even how they always mention this will end at Hell in a Cell. So I really
ladder matches for me. If you go back to WrestleMania 10, Shawn against Razor Ramon, that's probably one of my favourite all-time matches. And then the ladder matches kind of evolved from there. So you've had TLC, you've had sort of the Money in the Bank ladder matches, and everyone's unique. They always seem to try and push the boundaries a little bit further. So you're always going to get someone that's being innovative, trying to do something a little bit different. And at the end of the day, it's generally just carnage, which we all love.
For me, I'm very much I do like every type of wrestling, but I really like watching a mat-based wrestling. So the likes of, especially when you saw the likes of Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle doing their Iron Man match at SmackDown in the mid-noughties. I like a lot of mat-based wrestling just to watch the quality of work, and especially with Daniel Bryan and that, just to see how they can get out of, and I know it sounds daft, how they get out of moves, how they work on a small closed space, and to also still produce such high quality of work instead of just being high flyers or ground and pounds and stuff like that. I just like the technical side of it, even though I do enjoy everything else. I do like my technical side of wrestling type matches. So yeah, that's it for me.
For me, and this is literally the direct opposite of Jolly, it's a ladder match. So we couldn't be further off the mat if we tried. I would say that the most recent matches, ladder matches put on by at least AEW and WWE, haven't unfortunately been like what they should have been. I think AEW has yet to have a genuinely decent kind of ladder match that I've seen, but it just naturally brings a bit of excitement to any match, really. You know, you could shove a ladder in there and straight away you start thinking about what you could do with it. Not to say there haven't been some incredible spots. You know, Darby Allin was particularly a highlight of the Casino Battle Royales, but yeah, there's been some really good matches over the years. So really, I think fondly looking back at the TLC matches, you know, looking back at the original ladder match, obviously. Well, not the original, but the one that everyone thinks is the original, Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. But Bret Hart would tell you that he actually originated the ladder match in WWE. So it's something that, yeah, it's always kind of sticks out for me. But yeah, unfortunately, the most recent examples haven't been the best. But I live in hope.
For me, it's a match that I know is going to be good. I don't necessarily have a favourite. It's just something that can suspend my disbelief and keep my attention span. So the one that jumps out is Tyler Bate versus Volta for the UK Championship at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. God, that was a mouthful. And it was because I genuinely thought for the last sort of 5-10 minutes of that match, I thought, hang on a minute, Tyler Bate could do this. Tyler Bate could make history, could be second time, you know, NXT UK champion. But things like in a match that's a part of a best of 5 or a best of 7 series, because you don't see that anymore. And the way they tell the story through the match is something that I don't feel we get anymore. So one that I recommend is a little controversial, but there we go. It's Booker T versus Chris Benoit for the US title around sort of 2005, I think, on SmackDown. It was just fantastic from start to finish, the whole series. And that's why it sticks out. So yeah, there we go.
Well, obviously, my favourite match type would be the Royal Rumble match, because every year, you know, it's always in January, so it's always something to look forward to. And just every year, there's always some kind of surprises and just chaoticness. Sometimes you just never know what's going to happen. And then probably the best one of that was maybe last year's with Brock Lesnar going over half the match and destroying the entire roster until Drew finally eliminated him.
Something that's a sort of a well-rounded match. I want some flippy shit, but I also kind of want good storytelling. I want good psychology. So yeah, a lot of stuff AEW does, to be fair, really well. So it's like, you know, anything with the Young Bucks in, they can tell a story regardless of what some people say. Things with Adam Page, Kenny Omega. But yeah, I'm one of these guys that I like the whole show at the circus. I like flippy shit. I like ground and pound. I like your storytelling. But yeah, if it was for that one kind of thing, a psychological, good story match with some flippy shit.
Okay, so this particular match type wouldn't ordinarily be my favourite, but I've seen some great examples of it this year, and it's kind of going to be the no-holds-barred type match. And if you think about recent matches where Britt Baker and Thunder Rose are on AEW, the match we had at Fastlane between Drew and Sheamus, and matches where they kind of combine psychology, some really good wrestling in and out of the ring, some good use of weapons without going too OTT with the kind of hardcore stuff. But when you get a really, really good storyline, some good psychology, and 2 awesome wrestlers, like those 2 matches, for example, yeah, that type of match does it for me.
What is your highlight of wrestling during the pandemic era? I will say that the introduction of the cinematic matches, that was a brand new concept that also provided like wrestlers that are pretty much considered either veterans or like considered like retire. They give them the opportunity to finally come back and allow us to like let them show their skills and let them show their character one more time. For example, like The Undertaker in the cinematic match at WrestleMania with AJ Styles. Now Sting at AEW Revolution with Darby Allin against Ricky Starks and also Brian Cage. So all of those things, I feel that like it gave the wrestlers more tools So like for you to like not only wrestle in the ring, but like take the rivalry to outside of the ring, to different venues, different concepts. A lot of people don't like it, but I feel that like because of the pandemic and the restrictions that everybody had, I feel that like they turned this around into a positive from this awful negative, and they were able to give us the still stories. And the way that the Undertaker left, won the Boneyard match, all of those things, I feel that like it was absolutely a great job. And I think that is just like something that it was needed to do for like the wrestling companies to keep going despite the restrictions with the pandemic. So that concept to me revolutionized what you can do right now, because you can always resort to those rivalries to bring, like I said, all the wrestlers that are retired. You can even give them another shot, another opportunity. And I really think that like that is the key point in the pandemic era, because no crowds, like all the wrestlers like always need the crowd reaction, so like they can actually get into more in the matches and all of that. So I feel that like the cinematic match was a great introduction, and it was a great tool to be used.
For me, it's the for Impact. I mean, Impact and AEW adapting to what's been going on in the world, and just getting on with business. They haven't, with the exception of losing quite a lot of wrestling talent because of travel constraints. That's also opened the door to a lot of non-signed talent, which is what we've seen on recently on Dark and Dark Evolution. So it's all thumbs up. So I think what they're doing with the current predicament at the moment is spot on. I've got nothing to put a downer on it. They're doing the best at what they can with the situation and everyone that they can get hold of, and it's in my opinion it's helped boost them, and it's also boost the wrestlers to get on TV, so a lot more eyes are on the product and on said wrestlers. So yeah.
I actually agree with that. Yeah, the whole kind of highlight for me is the fact that we've carried on as best we can when other sports have suffered, greatly. Unfortunately, we've always been privileged. I think the wrestling's continued week on week, and the best part for me has been seeing the improvisation of both AEW and WWE. WWE with its Thunderdome, I may not be its biggest fan, but I can see how it's different and it's innovative. And AEW, yeah, switching to the camera so it's not so obvious there's no crowd there, and just like Jolly said, the sheer amount of talent they've given work to, to keep them employed during a very difficult time for a lot of independent talent. That's been really great. Obviously, there's been a lot of debuts that aren't quite the same as they would have been, unfortunately. But the fact that they haven't held back on any of the storylines, as far as I can tell, apart from maybe one, they've just carried on, like you said, business as usual. And you have to, you have to just carry on. Like I said, we've all learned to work with this, and they've done the same. So in a way, bizarrely, yeah, the whole time has been like a kind of highlight for me. Because it's forced people to be a little more innovative, and we've seen that in various cinematic matches and various kind of I want to say the unsanctioned matches as well as an easy way to kind of pull something out of this. So yeah, I don't want to say the whole thing because obviously it's been a terrible time for everyone, but in a way for wrestling, yeah, it has continued to be quite prosperous really in many ways. So I'm grateful for that, and yeah, in a way that is a highlight.
I'm going to try and make this into a positive, because that's what I'm trying to do in 2021, is be more positive. It's actually the fact that there's no crowds to distract me. So when you look at the presentation of the match itself, it's just the ring that's lit up. It's nothing to do with the rest, and it makes me watch the match. Because normally we'll be watching the match, and if there's crowds there, and I don't know whether other people do this, we play spot the football shirts. So me and my other half, Matt, will be like, oh, there's a Tottenham shirt. Oh, there's a United shirt. Oh, there's a West Ham shirt. Oh, is that a Sunderland shirt? And because that's not there, don't have to worry about it. I think the way that they've done it and the way that they've managed to do it by having the roster around the ring has been a nice little idea, but I still quite like the fact that there is no crowds to distract me. So yeah, there we go.
I think the Thunderdome was a massive improvement. That was a massive high point for me because it just added more to Raw and SmackDown. I mean, they were barely watchable prior to. I think the Thunderdome has made it, feel more like a wrestling show again. Yeah, that would be it for me. And the cinematic matches as well. I think they've been a massive improvement.
One of the highlights really is just the fact that it continued going. Not to be selfish, but every other sport got shut down completely for months, and yet wrestling was always there from day one. So I guess it's just kind of the fact that it never left.
I was tempted to say the rise of the wrestling cinematic experience or cinematic universe, cinematic matches, but then I changed my mind after seeing recent promos from Eddie Kingston, and I think 2020 was another great year for Eddie Kingston, and I think he delivers every single time, whether it's in the ring, whether it's character development, promos, backstage stuff. He's become a bit of a locker room leader backstage with AEW, and I think he's kind of been one of them zero to hero type figures that's really come on, being a bit of an indie god to somebody on the more mainstream picture nowadays. So Eddie Kingston, I think, has been my standout during the pandemic year, and I think a lot of people will probably agree with me on that. But onwards and upwards, and when we get fans back in the arena, I think they're going to appreciate everything Eddie Kingston.
The best thing for me during the pandemic is the fact that people have had to be more innovative. They've had to do different things. We've seen like the cinematic matches, and people like changing the way they do things. Some of the cinematic matches have worked a lot better than others, obviously. But in general, the fact that they've had to do different things, and along with that as well, the fact that with no crowds as well, you don't need microphones, so you're picking up a lot more in the ring, so you can hear the jaw jacking going on. Like Seth Rollins is a great example of it, and just to bring up Bayley again, I think like her interactions with Cole, like from the very beginning, because she was responding to him on commentary and stuff like that, I thought was really, really good and just added a different layer to it.
The next question is, what are you looking forward to most in wrestling when things are back to normal? Like I mentioned before, where I said in the cinematic matches, like there's no crowds. So that's what I'm looking forward to, like the introduction of the crowds. People going back to wrestling venues, people coming back to wrestling shows. That's something that is needed because especially the wrestlers need that energy. They feed off that, and the crowd also feeds off the energy of the wrestlers. So it's a really mutual relationship. The one lives out of the other. So I feel that it's really important that the crowds come back and finally the wrestlers can have like those great moments. And that like a great moment is just when like the wrestler and the crowd have like that sync, have like that sharing moment of emotion, of like of the joy, sometimes hate, all of that. So I feel that like that's what I feel in need, that like it will be when things go back to normal, finally people really coming back to wrestling venues, enjoying wrestling like before. It doesn't matter if it is NXT UK in this case, all of that. The British crowds have like really great energy. They are really known for that, the passion, the intensity, the love that they have for this business. So I'm really looking forward for that. I cannot see myself not seeing crowds anymore because it is needed. Like remember when we had the pandemic, the first months, it was really difficult to get into matches, to get into storylines because it was just the wrestlers and no crowd reaction. So wrestling is something that feeds off the crowd reactions. It needs it.
Genuine crowd reactions. There's been a lot of like good stuff that's happened like within the past year that you just kind of sit there and go, there was a crowd there. Like Drew beating Brock, I reckon would have gotten incredibly over.
Crowds, man. The pops. I want to know the bad guys are bad guys because the fans are booing them. I want to know the good guys are the good guys because they're getting cheered. Just the fans. I don't think there's anything more important. There's nothing else to look forward to, but fans back in attendance.
I wrote this in massive capitals when I answered this question, and it's going to watch it live. And since then I've had time to think about it, and the example I'm going to use is Blackpool. There is something special about the Winter Gardens venue. I don't know why. I saw NXT in 2015 there. I saw the first night of the UK Championship tournament there. I saw Takeover Blackpool 1 there, and also the Aftermath as well. So we're in all of those shows. But there is something magical about walking up the slope to get to the building, going in. There's something very special about seeing the merch stand and everything and being like, oh, well, I'll go to that later. And the first port of call is the bar. Because I don't know what it is, and we need to find this out for the Turnbuckle Arms. We need to find out how it is that they just pour a magical pint. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's chilled to perfection. I don't know what it is. It could even be the plastic glasses, but there's something amazing about going to the bar, getting 4 pints, coming back, sitting down with it, and then people look and it's like, I'm not getting up. Once these tapings starts, I'm not getting up. So I'm well versed for the night then. So yeah, I think it's that.
For me, I know it sounds, I think everyone's going to be jumping on the same bandwagon as this, but it's just the atmosphere of a live crowd. Seeing, even whether you be in front of watching wrestling in front of with 10 people or 1,000 people, it's seeing a live crowd. I mean, the atmosphere is just going to be amazing. That first show, no matter what you go to, as soon as you can go do that and that first match kicks off, the roof's going to blow, because everyone's going to feel like there's some kind of normality. So for me, I think it's just that next step, going back to what it used to be. And as I said, yeah, bit of live wrestling would be amazing to see.
Yeah, of course. It's the same for me, isn't it? Like live crowd reactions to debuts. I think back to when FTR debuted in AEW, that'd have been something special. And just now I was watching the Hardy Boys when they returned at WrestleMania, when the New Day introduced them, and that pop was incredible. And you just think, what if that crowd wasn't there? You know, there's been plenty of debuts that would have benefited from that. So I'm looking forward to that. Sorry. But yeah, at the same time, someone like Ricky Starks, you know, he's very popular online. He knows he is. He's very successful there. But he's saying, in a way, wrestling's changed because you've had to go back to basics and not rely on the crowd atmosphere to understand, you know, how to change a match. But someone like him would benefit from that crowd being there to gauge his popularity. Now he's in AEW. It's quite difficult to gauge that, I imagine, without a crowd. And someone like Platinum Max Caster from The Acclaimed, he comes down and does an amazing rap to the ring every time, but he's not getting that crowd response, you know, and that would elevate him so much because he's really good at that. And you need that crowd to be like, oh, you know, in the background, you need them to respond to that. So that was my crowd impression. That was 33,000 people. But yeah, so I miss the crowd purely for how it affects, you know, certain moments, because the match may not change, but yeah, the memories of that match change depending on the pop you might get to certain things.
Well, besides going to see more live wrestling, possibly with Matt Bayliss himself, it will be just seeing wrestling on TV with the fans, because I think we'll all agree that wrestlers react and perform better with a live audience to feed off of that energy, to feed off of the atmosphere, and to feed off of the crowd. I certainly want to see Drew McIntyre win his 3rd championship in front of an audience this year. I think we're going to see that. But in general, just having that atmosphere, whether it be live events, house shows, pay-per-views, with the live audience there. And I'm not just talking for WWE and AEW, but for Ring of Honor and for Impact and for independent shows in the US and the UK, to have that fan interaction and that energy, and that kind of energy that the wrestlers can really feed off of. That's what I'm looking forward to more than anything.
It's got to be crowd reactions. You know, a legitimate real pop for when something big happens or a big return or something like that. If you look at Edge's return at the Royal Rumble last year, you know, if that had happened without a crowd, you know, it still would have been a significant moment in wrestling, but it wouldn't have been, you know, the big thing that it's you know, that we've really seen with it. So it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to getting back and getting that genuine reaction to what's going on instead of just having the piped in chants.
Who is the best next big thing, the one to watch? And for me, the next big thing, like somebody that is gonna break through in the wrestling world, is the next big star is Impact's Moose. This guy, the way he carries himself, the way that he reacts to promos, cuts a promo, the way he convinces me, the way he carries his character. He has identified as one of like the best wrestlers right now, just mainly not even for his in work style, but also the way that like he carries his character as like himself. Suits. The introduction of the TNA title, like it wasn't valid in up to like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but yet he just thought that was his championship. He convinced you of that. He's been winning matches against big names, Tommy Dreamer, Rhino. He won against Rick Swan, like a non-competed match, not this one from the one that we have just a few months in Sacrifice a few weeks ago. But like all of these things, he's been just improving his like wrestling ability, improving his promo ability, and right now the rivalry that he had with EC3, that we also got to see a cinematic match, the first one for Impact. So Moose, I mean, he has like the most opportunity to grow, and he's going to be the main big star. He's able to transcend from like the wrestling world into pop culture, into like just regular media, mainstream media. I feel that like he has the tools, and also like the way he just feels and believes in wrestling is just absolutely amazing. I feel that like he has a lot of things to yet to accomplish and to prove, but like he's just gonna carry like Impact, and also whoever or whichever wrestling company he's at, he's gonna be absolutely amazing. I just think that Moose is just the one to watch because of like his physique, athleticism, and also again the way he portrays and carries his own character. He's the one to watch for me.
Big Page is there within the next 12 months, and then going forward, I think you've got MJF. Obviously smashing it at the minute. I think he's going to be the guy that built the company around in a few years' time. Jungle Boy, I think, as well. And Alan. I think there's 3 stars there from AEW. And WWE-wise, I don't know, dude. We've had this conversation, obviously, about the developmental. The guys coming through the developmental at the minute, like mid-30s. So I don't want to say they're the young guys that they're going to build the future on. I'd love to say Aleister Black or Ricochet, but yeah, I ain't that deluded.
I'm going to go with LA Knight, currently on NXT. Now, I wasn't that exposed to LA Knight's character on Impact. It was Eli Drake was his character on Impact. But I have seen a few of his promos and matches from his Impact run. And, of course, he was an Impact World Champion. But now on NXT, I think he's the perfect character. He's excellent on the microphone, a really experienced worker, really experienced performer altogether. And I think he's going to kind of help that brand along a hell of a lot, in my opinion. And he's already caught a lot of people's attention with his awesome promos. We know that he can deliver in the ring. So I'm interested to see what he can do against some of the more established names on the NXT brand. But I certainly think 2021 is going to be a good year for LA Knight.
Bronson Reed, without a shadow of a doubt for me. He's a massive guy. He's got a lot of charisma, but then he can do stuff in the ring that's a bit different. He's maybe like filling sort of like where Keith Lee was a couple of years ago. And obviously, hopefully, Keith Lee's going to get used better going forwards than he has been in the last few months. But yeah, Bronson Reed for me is definitely the next big thing.
Adam Page, I think, is the next big person in wrestling. He's beloved by everybody, has a great gimmick. He's fantastic in the ring, which if you asked me, say, maybe about 5 years ago, I would probably give you a completely different answer. But he has the tools for everything to go as high as he can. And personally, I think he should be the one that beats Omega for the belt. Maybe not even in this calendar year. Maybe early next year, I'm reckoning. So slow burn this guy and then make it count.
The first person I answered with was Pete Dunne, and then I went, oh, that's a bit cliche. So I think I'm going to look to AEW for this. Part of me wants to say Sammy Guevara, but again, is that a bit cliche because he's received very high praise? But I'm actually going to look to somebody like Jungle Boy. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's possibly because he's the underdog, for lack of a better term. but I just find his matches really engaging, and the stuff that he does, and his look, and the interaction between the Jurassic Express is fantastic. So yeah, I'm going to say Jungle Boy.
Oh, it's hard, is that, because there's so many. If I'm going to look at both Impact and AEW, it's hard because there's a lot of good talent there. Let's have a think. If we go with AEW, I think I've got to stick with MJF.
Mhm.
Just what he's doing. It's just it's taking its time. They're not pushing it too much to kill the storyline, and the fact that he's now taking a step back with the Pinnacle. So he's not the front, as in taking charge of the wrestling, and that he can just be sitting back and just be like, as you said, like the boss. Is very good, and it helps build his storyline. And I think me and Chris have said this from the start, including you, Matt, that MJF is somebody that has got ample amounts of talent, and as long as nothing goes wrong, then he's going to be amazing in 10, even 5 years, but in 10, 15 years, if he's still doing it, he's just going to be like the Chris Jericho of what we've had in the past. For me, so that's my AEW. For Impact, I would say I've got to go with the women's tag team champions, Flavor. They're doing amazing since they won the belts. And I think if they stick to it, I mean, unfortunately, it's not as big of a crowd. Obviously, there isn't one, but as in the amount of people that have got eyes on the product, they're not getting the exposure that they have. But I think that they have got ample amount of talent that this said door opens to AEW and more than just the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega switching across, because that would be that the amount of matches that they could have would be amazing. So I would go with the Knockouts Tag Champions, Fire and Flavor, and as I said, MJF for me. Yeah.
Really good picks. It's very difficult at AEW to argue with anyone other than MJF, because what is he now, 26? And he's yet to. They know what they got with him. They've protected him very well. He's only been pinned once, and that was disputed because the paradigm shift was used during the match, which was not supposed to be used. So he's disputing that. And yeah, he's only going to grow now with the Pinnacle behind him to use them as the heaters and the shield almost around him, to protect that winning record he's got. The Chris Jericho comparison was spot on, and no one knows that better than Chris Jericho, who wanted him in the Inner Circle initially as well. But looking back, you think actually, yeah, he's far better out of that. It doesn't really suit his vibe. So I'd say also, I think in AEW, Jungle Boy is really coming on leaps and bounds. He's got his new music now. People are he's such a natural baby face. It's impossible to dislike him. So ultimately, I kind of see MJF and Jungle Boy kind of growing up together. And I'm not going to say Rock and Austin, but you know what I mean? They're going to end up, aren't they, natural rivals over time, because they are. Having said that, Hangman Page, what they're doing with him, his build is very slow build. He's got everything to be the future face, and let's not forget he was originally against Jericho, in the very first pay-per-view almost, and that showed a lot of faith in him. So for me, it's got to be MJF, Hangman Page, or possibly Jungle Boy. In terms of WWE, everyone's talking about Parker Bordeaux. Obviously, the next big thing, discovered by Paul Heyman, 6'3", however much he weighs. It's difficult to ignore that hype, isn't it? And he knows that as well. So I think they're my picks really. For the next big things in both TNA. Rich Swan's doing a fantastic job, but I think, as you were saying, Jolly, it's the women's division of Impact, that will be carrying on. We talked about the current champ. You'll have to remind me, Jolly, how old she is, but didn't we say she was still mid-20s?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So, there's a lot of mileage with Donna there. So I think also she's the one to kind of carry that forward now. And that was evident when the previous Knockouts legends kind of, handed over to the tag champs, but also, it goes for that whole generation there. So, yeah, there's an awful lot of talent at the moment, more than we've seen previously in terms of independent stuff. You can pick a bunch of people, to be honest with you. It's quite a difficult question. It's a good question, to be fair.
I've got one to add if I can.
Yeah.
On AEW because of his match against Darby Allin, John Silver.
Yes, he's an organic star, isn't he? The way his rise has come about, he's very much been himself, and that's what's got him over on BTE, etc. But you're right, he looks great. He's got to be careful because he's such a funny guy, but he can go in the ring as well. So he just needs to walk that line, doesn't he? But that's an excellent pick for someone you wouldn't have picked out necessarily. But he's kind of risen naturally, hasn't he? So they're nearly always the ones, to watch out for. And again, let's not forget The Rock's journey to the top. It was slippery, and it didn't go to plan. Triple H, you could argue the same. It took a while. Austin, it had to go through a few different changes, I think. So when you think about the really top stars, some of them were probably never picked to be great. It was just thrust upon them. They made the most of the opportunity.
And the Jonas Podcasting Network is jam-packed with great shows and content. What show would you recommend? I will say Wrestling with Jonas.
Well, I really loved the first episode of Grappuccino with Lexi and Jesse. And always look forward to more of theirs, but also looking forward to the debut of Chalky T and the Bears podcast. So I can't say that that's really a recommendation because I haven't heard it yet, but still, it's on the looking forward to list.
So I am the founder of the network. I show absolutely no bias at all towards any of their podcasts. I love all of them equally, but one podcast I'm going to give a particular shout out to is Rope Break, or the Rope Break podcast. Now they do their show live. I think they do about 3, maybe 4 live shows per week. They cover Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NXT, NXT UK, all the pay-per-views. So they're kind of doing live shows, and it's Juan and Jean-Paul, of course, with their Rope Break podcast. 4 or 5 times a week, and I just love their passion. I love their energy. I love their dedication. And for the last 2 years, they've covered every single show in that kind of same format that I've just mentioned, live on YouTube and across Facebook on StreamYard. But I absolutely love everything they do because, their energy and their passion, the content they bring to the fans, and their dedication to bringing that live content to the wrestling community. And like I said, I love every single podcast that's part of the network so far. But Rope Break, I think because of what they do 5 nights a week, has to be up there for sure.
Of course, it's got to be Grappuccino. No, I'm joking. Every single one of them's fantastic, but if I had to choose, I'll go with the one that I listened to the most recent, and that was Nick's Work the Left Side podcast. Just amazing guests, amazing interviews, really insightful. And yeah, I've got to know Nick a little better through listening to that podcast as well, with Nick being the newest member of the Brew'd. So yeah, Work the Left Side.
I want to shout out to the Pull Up a Seat, Turnbuckle Arms guys, Grappuccinos, guys like myself that are kind of, there's a lot of established shows on the Johnny's Network that have got a fan base, that have got, a wide audience span already. I would look for the hidden gems, the diamond in the rough within the network as well. The little shows like my show, Work the Left Side, Turnbuckle Arms, Chalky T, all those kind of shows.
I would definitely recommend the original Rope Break podcast. It's really good fun. They put tons of content out there, and Juan's great. He's fun to listen to. He's really knowledgeable, and you really get the passion when you're listening to the podcast and watching the videos on YouTube.
Oh. There's, I mean, I'd be awful in picking just one out. I mean, you like yourself, Matt. There's so many people that are doing weekly reviews, interviews, live shows. Us, that's coming soon. I mean, for me, I'm not going to pick one out. I'm just going to say check out the Johners podcasting network for as we all promote each other. For if you want, no matter what your type of wrestling is, whether it be AEW, WWE, New Japan, if you like listening to podcasts themselves, we've got people from the UK, we've got people from Canada, we've got people from America. So for me, it's not one, it's just the family of John's Wrestling, the podcasting network. So just check everyone out. There's always going to be something there. Even if it's just one that you like, there's going to be something there that'll just make you get hooked. So that's me. I'm copying out and saying just...
What a democratic answer. And yeah, you know, you're spot on, Charlie. Yeah, like there is a little bit of something for everyone. The backgrounds of the hosts are very diverse, I think. Like you said, we've got different countries and different interests as well. So it's really interesting to see the different kind of output that's going to come out of that. It's a growing network, and I couldn't recommend it more. And I'm really proud to be a part of it and looking forward to actually properly contributing our show when it does air. Outside of our show, I think we're all big fans of Chris Van Vliet and his Insight podcast as a show. I am a regular listener to that. So that would be my kind of outside of our own podcast network recommendation. He's a great fan, but it's quite inspiring as well, the stories that we hear. We've just heard Ethan Page's kind of journey, just this week, and that was really good. So that's my outsider pick. But yeah, inside, of course, the whole John's Network family, fantastic stuff. Really happy to be part of it.
If we're going to go with anything that's outside of our group, I'd like to give a shout out to Simon Hill for Keep It Locked podcast, because he's doing some really, really good stuff. He's done some, he's interviewed people from WWE, a lot of the UK stars. He's interviewed a lot of AEW stars. And also, as we said, Straight Talking Wrestling, which is part of our family, based in Canada. He's doing again a lot of shout outs because I'm doing a lot of Impact Wrestling and AEW interviews. So, but again, we're all in this together to help everyone else out. But not if it's not just us, check out them too, especially as well. They're doing some fantastic work with interviews. Yeah, very much.
It's the big Johnny appreciation message where we all say, John, we love you. Thank you. You reached out. You gave us this chance, and we will take that brass ring.
Jonas has created this awesome network where instead of promoting himself, he's been given an outlet, he's been given a window to every single podcast. He's so welcoming, and also he promotes unity. So many other wrestling companies promote individualism. No, he promotes unity, he promotes collaboration, he promotes the love that we have for this business, this passion that we all of us have. Just we can keep transcending it, keep it sharing it, and we can get bigger by that. And that's what the one thing that I know about Jonas. He also his interviews are really great. He understands the business, and he gives you other aspects of the business with the wrestlers, with also musicians that promote professional wrestling. So I feel that he is the one to watch the most, just because he's been able to create not only his own podcast but a network full with other options on the same topic. So I really want to thank him also, and I think that he's the one to watch. I enjoy these interviews, and the fact that he's been able to merge us in this family is something that I'll always be thankful for, and I'll always be willing to do the same thing for everybody else, collaborating, being in somebody else's shows. I think that that's what we need to have as a wrestling community, just that mindset of collaboration, just mindset of all of us have to grow together, not only just myself, not only just my show, but every single one. Keep growing, keep learning from each other, keep sharing work, keep sharing information, and that way we all keep growing as a family.
We wouldn't be here without John as himself. He's the head of our table. He hates being called Big Johnny, so we're just going to put that out there to everyone. So we just want to say thank you for the opportunity he's given us, whether it's writing on the website, which is www.wrestlingwithjohners.com, or doing our own podcast, putting stuff on YouTube, sharing his interviews as well, which lately have been absolutely fantastic. So we just want to get together and just say a big shout out to Big Johnny, really.
So as I always end Grappuccino with massive thank you to everyone at the With Johners Network and the Wrestling with Johners site. This wouldn't be possible without you. But a huge deal thank you to Johnny Maur, Big Johnny, whatever you want to call him, the man behind the podcast, the man behind the website. Thank you so much, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, for not only giving me a platform for Grappuccino, thoughts, articles, but also approaching me to do the Turnbuckle Arms and then to go into the podcast for Grappuccino. It's been amazing, and I couldn't have got through this last sort of year without you. So thank you so much. If you can, support in any single way, and keep listening, stay safe, and watch wrestling.
No, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I'm not going to embarrass. I'm just going to be like, just thank you for. It's been a long time coming, but thank you for introducing me to a fantastic group of people like yourselves, bringing a family together of the Turnbuckle Arms podcast. I know me and Chris have become the FTR of the group, because we've
I like that.
Or the Young Bucks, or I will try. Every month I'm going to try and work out a new team that we can put in. But we've broken off and done our own thing, with huge support from everyone, huge support from him, and the fact that we're this family of podcasters together to make our community grow is just incredible to be part of. So yeah, and it's been great to be there from the start. So I'm not going to embarrass him, because I don't know him as much as you two, but I'd say a shout out and say thank you very much. So
well said. Yeah, it's unbelievable to think that many years ago I'd known John, and obviously we hadn't really seen each other for many years after that, and to think that ultimately he would be responsible for my creative outlet for the whole of this last year is a bit crazy when I think back on it, and I wanted to say, thank you for one, giving me the opportunity to first come on the shows and then the confidence to do our own ones, but two, genuinely, during a time which has been very difficult for a lot of people, if you're working from home like me, I always feel like I need to do something, and so having this podcast has allowed me to express myself creatively and talk about my passions, and also be introduced to a group of fellow-minded podcasters, which is brilliant. So I've gained so much back from it for literally nothing, really. So I'm really grateful that, one, I've been given this opportunity, but the timing of it could not have been better as well. So I'm going to embarrass him and say thanks, John, because this is all for you, really. This is all because of you. So thanks so much for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, in all seriousness, I wouldn't be doing what I was doing today. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for John as reaching out to me and asking me if I wanted to do it, be a part of something. The dude showed faith, and I'll always be appreciative. And if this does go anywhere, if we do make a success of this, it's purely down to him. So, and the rest of the guys as well. We've got an awesome team. Obviously, I know you help me out with, you do my intro videos and things like that, and everybody does a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I just think John's building this awesome. I don't want to say it's a team; it's a podcasting family kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's been really appreciative being a part of the Big Johnny Network recently, because it's just, we kind of always done the Turn Heel podcast for fun, and we still do it for fun, but it's just being part of the Big Johnny Network has really just kind of made it feel as if it meant just a little bit more. It may not, but it's just that kind of thing that it makes it feel as if it's this is a bit more real of a thing now, as opposed to just us literally pissing ourselves up and talking about wrestling for 3-4 hours a week. So thank you, Big Johnny.
So that's it. That's our episode for this month. I hope you've enjoyed it. So thank you for listening or watching along with us. We'll be back hopefully next month with a full and proper Turnbuckle Arms episode. But until then, keep checking out the Johners Podcasting Network. Go to www.wrestlingwithjohners.com. Find out all of our podcasts. Everything else is on the network as well. So before we go, just going to leave you with the trailer for a pro wrestling movie. It's a film that's being made at the moment. Johners did an interview with the guy behind it a few weeks ago. Watch the trailer if you want to get behind and try and support it. Donate a few quid just to try and help it get made. But just going to leave you with that trailer and see you all next month.
When we found out that you were coming to work here, we thought you were going to be this exemplary employee. I mean, the legacy of your family, your dad being your dad, your grandfather being your grandfather. Well, I'm sorry I have to say this. What's the term? You're donezo.
Hey, man. Sorry about what happened. I heard.
Oh, with that McManager motherfucker?
Yeah, I heard that skinny dude whooped the shit out of you.
I heard you got your firebush fucking stomped.
Damn, you got your ass beat by the nigga with the skinny mustache? Weekends. Bro, you supposed to be royalty. You see me drip the fuck down right now?
Hey, man.
You supposed to look like me. We supposed to be a dynasty together.
I don't think he could look like you. I mean, not totally.
You want me? I can put some bruises on that motherfucking head if you want me to.
There's just certain things.
Hey, take it easy on Jack, all right? He lost his house on a meth fire.
The name's H.G. Gary. But you know me as the Moo Moo Mauler. This is a chance of a lifetime. Now, I'm offering to train you to wrestle. This is your opportunity.
Wait. Is that little Ron? More like Dirty Ron.
I finally found something I can be good at.
What you talking about, man? He ain't no wrestler.
We dig to the bottom of the barrel, we find the worst of the worst, and I prove that even if you give me schlock, I'm able to make it magic.
You're trying to give the kid a title shot and he just started training? He's not ready for it.
I'm Rainbow Star. I'm the champ. He gets to come up in here with no priors to get to stand in the grace and presence of Rainbow motherfucking Star, bitch!
These people really like wrestling around here.
There's that motherfucker right there. Get him, Karen.
This summer, you will believe a weed-smoking, fast food clown can wrestle. A wrestling movie, The Legend of Dirty Ron.
You guys are wasting your life away with that marijuana.